Are you feeling stuck, like your life is on repeat? Do you sense that there's something that's preventing your growth, or that success is just always out of reach? Well, I actually have one crucial tip that most people overlook that can help you identify what it is that is preventing and stunting your growth, and will actually make a big difference in your life. And that's not all. We're actually going to take that a step further, and we're going to go through an exercise that can help you release this stagnant energy. First of all, congratulations for taking the first step of getting out of your rut by actually being here and watching this video. Alrighty then, let's get to it. Alright, so let's start with tip 1 out of 1, and that is to recognize that although on the surface it seems like there's nothing obviously stunting your growth, you may be subconsciously holding on to limiting beliefs about yourself. A self-limiting belief is defined as a subconscious belief, either good or bad, that we have about ourselves or the environment around us that is impacting how we behave. Let me actually share a personal anecdote to highlight this point, and then talk about an exercise that we can use and that I personally use to regain my full potential again. I consider myself a motivated individual who occasionally goes through uninspired phases. I start habits like meditating, but I struggle to remain consistent with them. I used to believe that this was just a normal cycle until I realized that this pattern was actually seriously stunting my growth. If you start to take a step back, you actually start to realize and see why these negative patterns are reoccurring in your life. What it generally comes down to is that these patterns are not changing because we as individuals are not changing, and therefore our beliefs about ourselves are not changing either. Using the example I illustrated earlier, it's easy to see that I was holding on to the irrational belief that I lacked consistency. I believe this to the point where I would consider those qualities about myself. But here's one thing that's really important to realize. You will always act in a way that reinforces beliefs about yourself. I unconsciously acted in ways that reinforce these negative beliefs about myself. So I was unconsciously inconsistent because I believed that that was something about myself. And therefore I saw results that matched that belief I had. I believed that I was inconsistent, and therefore I saw the results of inconsistency in my life. In a sense, I was holding on to this belief and letting it dictate the way I act and inherently change the trajectory of my life. Although it may not seem like it, you could also be holding on to an irrational belief that is preventing you from becoming your best self. Okay, and this is where we actually start the practice that will help us eliminate those beliefs about ourselves and actually get our life back on track. Because at the end of the day, that is what we all deserve, is to be living in our fullest potential. So now briefly, you're going to turn inwards and track down that belief about yourself, the belief about your surrounding environment, or perhaps a belief about another person that is actually causing you to repeat these negative patterns in your life. For example, maybe you find yourself avoiding social situations because maybe you inherently believe that you're an awkward individual, but those social situations may be necessary for growth in the field or industry that you're working in. Maybe that's a narrative that you're telling yourself about yourself, which is really influencing the way that you act and behave. So ask yourself, what is that belief about yourself or about other people or about the world around you that you're holding on to that is influencing how you act and potentially preventing you from living your best life? Okay, now that you've tracked down that belief about yourself, we're going to use an exercise from this book called Psycho-Cybernetics, which I use to help me dislodge my belief that I am inconsistent and I lack consistency. So you're going to journal about the following 4 questions. Is there any rational reason for such a belief? Could it be that I am mistaken in this belief? Would I come to the same conclusion about another individual in a similar situation? Why should I continue to act and feel like this is true if there is no good reason to believe it? To experience a full emotional release of these subconscious beliefs, it's important that you don't just answer these questions casually. You have to deeply think about these questions and honestly get kind of emotional about them. It is actually a really emotional introspection because you're coming face to face with a belief that has caused you to miss out on so many different opportunities. So spend this time releasing the clogged emotions behind this belief. You can even get angry. It is extremely angering that you and I have let a silly belief dictate how we act and the trajectory of our lives. And I love this exercise because it actually starts you on the path of eliminating these beliefs that you have about yourself. And the next step is to actually embody these new empowering beliefs that you have about yourself in your day-to-day actions. Whenever your old beliefs try to sneak back in, grab your journal and quickly write down the opposite of that old belief. This is a great exercise to keep reinforcing your new edited beliefs about yourself. And it can be just an informal exercise, but it's just so that you keep reinforcing and rewiring your brain to to let go of those old beliefs and rewrite them into these new positive beliefs you have about yourself. And using me as a really quick example, if I get annoyed and I hear in my head, God, I'm so annoyed with myself because I lack consistency. Why can't I be consistent with this action? I'm going to open my journal and instead I'm going to write down, I'm a really consistent individual because, and then talk about all the things that you've maintained your whole life. Maybe that's exercising for me. It could be something different for you. But then each day that negative belief comes up, try and write out the opposite and give an example of why the opposite is true and the old belief that you had is actually irrational. A final really emotional question to ask yourself is, how would your life look differently if you eliminated these self-limiting beliefs? What could you go on to achieve and accomplish if you just let go of these beliefs that are holding you back? This is a question you can get really emotional about because you start to realize all the missed opportunities and missed potential because you're holding on to an irrational belief about yourself. For example, maybe you have stage fright and your fear is that you can't present in front of people. Imagine all of the things that you're missing out on because you believe that about yourself. This one tip that I just shared with you is the start to a journey of personal change and personal growth. It's normal to have to work through these beliefs over time, but remember that the results are so worth it. After doing this exercise, hopefully you're able to be more aware of your self-limiting beliefs and how they're actually affecting you in your everyday life so that you can correct them and start living the life that you want to live. I know when I personally realized that I was holding on to a few beliefs that were holding me back, I was both infuriated at the beliefs, but also super excited about the future that I was just about to have with these beliefs no longer holding me back. Anyways, I hope you gained a few insights from this video and took away any points that are relevant to you given the lifestyle you live and the circumstances you face. Thanks for watching this video. Maybe in the comments write down a belief that you had previously held about yourself, which you now realize that is a completely irrational belief. Anyways, I'll catch you on the flippity flop.